Hello and welcome to Night Watch. I'm your host, as always, Todd Sheets. Very glad to be here with you tonight. I have guests that have been on this show that have blown my mind, just repeat guests, and I always have an amazing time when they're on, and tonight is no exception. We have a return guest tonight, but before we get into that, let me welcome to the show Hugh McClanahan, co-host extraordinaire.
Yay!
Yay!
I've actually got a headset this time.
Yeah, you can actually hear the guest this time. I'm not sure. Maybe I can unhook you halfway so you'll feel nostalgic. Will that be good?
No.
I understand that. And I'd also like to say our associate producer Amanda was supposed to be here. She had some things going on, and I just want to say that we're all here with you. That we love you guys dearly, you and Audrey, and we just love you very much. And we're sorry that you couldn't be here, but we're with you in spirit and in our hearts. Julie V is here producing, doing her extraordinary thing, and anyone that's in the chat room, she'll be in there when she gets a chance because she left the house without her Ethernet cable because she's lame, and she's sitting here pointing at me, but it's not my fault. But luckily, we are broadcasting live from our beautiful new studio in Zona Rosa, overlooking this amazing ice-encrusted city. But the great part is, even though I don't have a Jack in the Box to look at, I do have the Best Buy right here out the window, and it's almost like a little piece of heaven. Without further ado, though, let's get our guest on because, man, we have two guests tonight, actually. One has been on the show before, one has not. We have an exclusive here on Night Watch. I remember back in the day, the first time I had our next guest on this show, and it was mind-blowing. It left me with the creeps. When I left the studio, I was looking over my shoulders because I was sure the men in black were waiting for me outside.
That happens a lot with us, though.
Yeah, it does. But everybody, welcome back to the show, Duncan O'Finian. Duncan?
Todd, how are you, man?
It is an honor to have you here as always, and I want to thank you because you have been such a good friend of the show, and I feel really privileged to have known you, and I've watched good things happen to you since you've been on this show. You've been on TV, and people are taking notice of what you're doing, and it's just really kind of cool to see your friends doing good out there.
Well, it's been a mixed blessing, that's for sure. I mean, we've certainly felt both sides of the coin over the past couple of years, but I would have to say the upside beats the heck out of the downside.
That's right. And you've brought an excellent friend here with you that has been involved with you in some of these amazing stories. You've brought your friend Axe here with you. Axe, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me.
Since it's been a while since you've been on, Duncan, and we got a whole bunch of new affiliates and a bunch of new listeners, why don't I go ahead and let you do a little recap, and then we'll do the same with Axe, and we'll get right into it.
Well, I guess instead of, as I've always done, saying I have to say we.
Yep.
But Axe and I were involved in a sub-project of the old MK Ultra project that was known as Project Talent. And what that was an experiment that started back before World War II, actually, with the Nazis and all that. But our involvement started in the 60s and 70s, mine in the mid-60s and Axe's in the 70s. And we were tested as children for specific bloodlines and innate paranormal or psi abilities. And unfortunately, we passed the test, and we were taken into this project and trained to be soldiers. And we went through tremendous amounts of physical, mental, psychological torture, conditioning, etc., to the point to where our personalities were split. And those alternate personalities were ultimately the ones who went through the training after that. And over the years, we've had a lot of bleed throughs where the memories are convalescing, and the personalities seem to be molding themselves into one personality in both of us. And we were told several years ago that was impossible. Well, and once again, Axe and I have proven the general public wrong. But
exactly.
Most of the history is on the websites and whatnot. But the main thing that we like to get out is that this involved children. Okay, as young as 6. They liked us at 6, 7, 8 years old. And they took us as children and put us through enough physical torture over a lengthy time period to where we basically had a choice to split personalities to survive or die. And they did that with a combination of drugs that was used to keep us from blacking out or keep us from fainting. You know, when the body goes through so much pain, you normally black out.
Right.
But with the drugs that they gave us, we weren't able to black out. So when you reach that certain threshold, you have no choice. You either split into a totally new personality as a child is a total blank slate, or you die.
Man.
And in each successive group that was taken in, more than half did not survive.
Scary.
And Axe and I are two of the few survivors from the 60s and 70s project.
Man, when I talked to you before, it was something where you didn't even know this was going on, and you just, as you became an adult, you started having these episodes, getting fragments of this stuff, like little puzzle pieces, and you started finding more and more out about yourself because there were large chunks of your childhood that would go black in your memory.
Yeah, exactly. What happened with me, and then I'll let Axe pick up and let her explain how everything happened with her, is from the time I was like around 19, I began to have repetitive dreams, nightmares, daydreams, etc. that I, just wasn't right, okay? And then 14 years ago, I was involved in an automobile accident that wasn't really an accident. It was a setup. And I was stuck in an MRI machine, and the MRI machine didn't like the electronic pulses from the cranial implant. And it disabled, at least in part, the cranial implant. And what happened to me instantly is that all of the memories just came rushing back at once. And it was like going through your all the channels on your TV fast, super fast.
Yeah.
And each scene I knew was a memory, and everything started coming back. And it was hell on earth from there on for many, many years.
So that implant was actually so you didn't remember
it
anything.
You just
Block
regulate it into a different area of the mind or the brain, into a whole different department, and keep it away from everything else.
Lock it up,
Right. That was one of the functions of the cranial implant. Also, one of the functions of the cranial implant was for triggering, electronic triggering. And if anybody watched the Jesse Ventura episode, when Ventura and I were in the parking structure having a conversation, when they were showing all the MRI scans and the X-rays and all that, those were mine. Everything that had a white circle drawn around it was an implant.
Now, if I remember right, you had these implants that were almost like bionic. I mean, we were talking before how you would feel them supercharge your arm, and suddenly your arm would be like super powerful.
Right. That's the one that's in the right shoulder. And actually, Axe can tell you more about that one than I can. Now, we knew one implant in my left hand because we had X-rays of that.
Right.
Well, when I was doing the True TV show, they asked for brand new scans. Okay, fine. So I went to a doctor friend of mine, and we did some new scans. And lo and behold, we found 3 implants in my left hand.
Man.
Now, what that tells us is that somewhere between the time I had the first X-rays done in my hand and about 3 months ago, I got picked up and got implanted again.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And that's a little scary for us.
Well, I would imagine. Let's hear a little bit from Axe. Axe, go ahead and give us a little bit of your take on what's going on. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, my